Salvete omnes. This is Virgil's book 1, 1.8 to 118. And this is where he talks about why Juno is mad at Aeneid, or starts to talk about it. He doesn't really get into detail in this actual part of translation. So he starts out talking to his muse. He says, which is a goddess, Muse, recount to me the causes with which the divinity, having been offended, or suffering what, did the Queen of Gods, this is about Juno, because she's married to the King of Gods, so, force a man with noted responsibility to undergo so many misfortunes, to face so many trials. And so, first of all, this is subjunctive, it's perfect, and it is a subjunctive of indirect question, going with these two. And insignum pietate is ablative of description, describing Wiram. And Wiram, by the way, is Aeneas. So she's making Aeneas go through all this stuff. He's saying, why'd you make Aeneas do all this terrible stuff? And then he says, in this little part, is an implied is there, because there's no actual verb. So you would say, is there so much hate or anger in heavenly minds? And anger, this actually, ire is plural, but you would just say anger, because you don't say angers, and it's also poetic plural. So, yeah. And then there was an ancient city, which, this is predicate nominative, it isn't the subject, or, I mean, it can be, but it sounds better if it's predicate nominative. And then this is syncope, so tenuerunt is actually what it would be, but it's shortened for meter. And so Tyrian colonists held it, and Tyria was actually really far away, so they actually moved all along the way. They moved like all the way past Greece, from like Asia Minor, and so it was a big trip. So Tyrian colonists held it. Carthage was its name. Facing from a distance, or at a distance, Italy and the mouth of the Tiber. And Ostia is also plural, but you would just say mouth, because it's poetic plural. And then this little part describing the city is rich in wealth and the most fierce in the pursuits of war. So this is actually genitive, but you wouldn't say rich of wealth. We say rich in wealth in English. And so this is pretty much describing Carthage, how it's just sort of setting up what it is. And then this quam and unam are describing Carthage or herbs, because they're both feminine, so either one. And so it goes, which only, it is said, Juno favored more than all other lands, with Samos having been held after it, which is, Samos is like her big island. It has her temple. It's like Juno's usual favorite island. This is actually a pretty big statement for Virgil to say, because it's sort of saying like this place was even more important than Juno's like renowned big place. So the point is, it's a pretty important place. And you have hic hoc, which is anaphora, first of all, fun fact. And so you would say, here there were her weapons. Here there was her chariot. And then you go, already then the goddess both favored this place to be the power or the kingdom of nations, of peoples, saying like she expected this place to be a big, powerful, juggernaut empire place. Like she had big dreams for it. And so like she intended this to be all that. If And this isn't actually qua, it's aliqua. Because that little fun rhyme, I can't remember it right now. So it's if at all, because we're going to say at all instead of any. It makes more sense right in the context. If at all the fates allowed. And this is, so it's actually the fates should allow, because this is subjunctive. And then you can go back to here and you say, and she cherished it. So it's a both and little connection, which is important to remember. So to go through that little string again, it goes, already then the goddess intended, both intended this place to be the power of nations, or the kingdom of nations, if at all the fates should allow, and she cherished it. And that is it, my friends. Thank you very much for listening. Goodbye.